A very good morning to you all and welcome to VPN, that's Views, People and News, here on 933 KFM. My name is Judith Atim, I'm your host, and I'm very pleased to be hosting a number of interesting guests. Professor Margaret Chigoz is not yet in, but we should be having her in. The Honorable Victoria Sechitoleko, former Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. She's an entrepreneur, farmer. Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning.
Good to have you again.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And also I have Dr. Eli Twineo, the Executive Director of the Uganda Export Promotions Board, which is under the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. Dr. Eli is also an economist and he's also a farmer. Good morning, Doctor. Good to have you.
Good morning, listeners. I'm glad to be here, but you should know that Uganda Export Promotion Board was merged with the Free Zones Authority.
Free Zones.
And they formed a new organization called Uganda Free Zones and Export Promotions Authority, which by the end of this month, then these Free Zones and Exports Board will be gone, and we have a new organization, but still under Ministry of Trade.
So what's your title under the new arrangement?
Not yet. We will discuss that another time off camera.
Okay.
In between jobs.
you are now, you have good experience with RAPEX.
Yes.
I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from you.
I do.
So our topic, of course, is the agency mergers and agriculture promotion. And we're asking, should the Uganda Coffee Development Authority go to the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries? Of course, when we were coming up with this topic, that was before we actually learned of the resolution that was made by the NRM Parliamentary Caucus. We shall talk about that in a short while. But I want us to just look briefly at the biggest events of the week in the news. Unfortunately, we are starting with the tragic death of Uganda's marathon runner, Rebecca Cheptegei, who died on Thursday, aged 33. Cheptegei succumbed to wounds she sustained early after she was doused with petrol and set on fire by her former boyfriend. She was part of the Team Uganda in the Olympics Games held last month in Paris, France. Cheptegei left behind 2 daughters. And her death has been widely condemned as one of the growing acts of violence against women and girls. And also on Tuesday, the leader of the National Unity Platform, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, also known as Bobi Wine, was injured in a scuffle with the police and his supporters, between the police and his supporters at Bulindo, Jira. Bobi was admitted at Nsambia Hospital and discharged the following day, that's Wednesday. Police issued a statement saying he stumbled from his car as he was getting out of his car and hurt himself, although Kyagulanyi himself and his party say he was shot. Still on Tuesday, President Yoweri Museveni met members of the NRM MPs caucus over the rationalization of government agencies. They had another meeting yesterday, and that's actually going to be the gist of our discussion today. And last but not least, the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecutions and the Criminal Investigations Department of Uganda held an inaugural annual coordination meeting at CAD headquarters in Chibuli. It was closed by President Museveni, who called on them to strengthen their linkage in criminal investigations with the public to fight corruption better. And also, sadly, on Thursday, the legendary Father Damien Grimes, who was head teacher at the Kamuli district-based Namasagali College School, died at the age of 93 from his retirement home in Liverpool, UK. Father Grimes belonged to the Mill Hill Fathers and was head teacher of Namasagali from 1967 to 2000 at one of the then most prestigious schools in Uganda. Those are the highlights of what happened. But Honorable and Doctor, I would just like you to react to this tragic death of Rebecca Cheptegei. I'll start with you, Honorable.
Thank you. Yeah. Good morning again, listeners. Just thinking about Cheptegei gives me goosebumps. That's how bad it is. And now I'm looking at the new vision where they have put her on the the top page. You get New Vision. She's right there. Tears start coming. Why? And how did we get here? And how do you say she's the third to be killed between now and 2021? So who is next? And what are we going to do about it? France, which is very far, which hosted this lady for just a week, has already reacted. I'm really waiting with bated breath the reaction of Uganda. Because these girls who are being killed, these women who are being killed, these sports people who are being killed are Ugandans. And the least any government can do is look at its own people. So, government of Uganda, I never say government yetuyambe, this is not kutuyamba. Please do your job and keep us safe. Because we cannot close our doors and keep our daughters inside, but at the same time we are not going to leave them loose for the world to kill at ease. You choose this one, tomorrow you choose the other one, and we say, oh, that is tragic. It is tragic, but we should do something about it. And tell everybody you want to kill, maybe find a chicken, but don't you ever imagine that you are going to kill our Ugandan girls.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Tunayo.
It is hurting because you see, I read a lot of books. I read a lot for everyone to be good, to reach a time of competing globally.
Exactly.
They have put in a lot of their own time, a lot of training, a lot of commitment to reach a time to compete at the global level.
Exactly.
And the next day, that son of a man has done what? Has killed you, has poured petrol on you, and you have died.
Not even accidentally.
Not even accidentally, deliberately. We need to do something. You see, like in these other developed countries, the level now where she had reached, there is already somebody snooping, to trying to get the what? Trying to get, they always like spying. People at that level, a person who competes globally.
A headhunter.
That's a national asset.
Yes.
It has to be protected.
So she should have been protected either knowingly or unknowingly.
Yes.
Because there should have been that interest. And normally, it doesn't happen in other countries because you don't do that one to what? You don't do that to, and that's it. You don't do that. And she's dead. As if it is easy like that. We lose talent. We lose the brand. She was holding our brand. This is so sad. But I think these beasts also need to be punished rightly. It was sad.
So, from your responses, I'm also thinking about our young girls and boys in the Emirates, for example, who are not famous, are not popular. They're coming from small villages. They have very basic education. And you're looking at a prominent person like Cheptegei there. And I'm just wondering, do we have a government that actually prioritizes and values its citizens, even domestically, but more especially abroad? And what are we missing? What can we learn from other countries, and how do we do better for our own?
Did I have an answer to that one? Actually, over time, I think government has been trying, and I don't operate in that area. It is the Ministry of Gender, and there is, I think, association for
labor
exporters. Some people call it manpower agencies. Recently, the Ministry of Gender was in Qatar to sign an MOU or some agreement. What I have observed myself moving around, and sometimes when I'm there hearing stories, is they are I don't know whether you should call them mafias or what, in this whole game of sending workers abroad. They are people who are not legit, and they send these people abroad without protection. Because I met when I was in Qatar, and I have been in Dubai several times and other places. There are those people, when you meet them, they tell you everything is all right. They tell you their contracts are very good. They tell you even they can report to police and other agencies. But there are those who are sent, and because people want jobs, they will accept anything. Sometimes they even pay more money than even they will make in a year when they go abroad. So we need to clean here. In the recruitment agency, there actually, I should call it, what is the right word when somebody takes you away?
Not abducted.
Not abducted.
Conscription.
No, another one.
Kidnapping? What is it?
They take you away by force or...
Describe it.
This English,
maybe we can help you.
So somebody
say it in Lusoga, change it in
English. Somebody takes akutwala eri nga taina olukusa without permission, and he takes you abroad. He says, I'm going to get you a job. When indirectly he has, like you are saying, like abducted you. So you go, you are a slave indirectly. And when you reach, then he will pick your passports and the rest. So this person here in Uganda, who sends you there?
Trafficking.
Traffic, people trafficking, human trafficking. Many people are trafficked. Actually, when you find out people who are suffering and who cannot report anywhere have been trafficked by our people. Here, there are people who are making a lot of money by trafficking our people under the guise that it is labor export. So we need to urge our government and the police and immigration. Sometimes when I'm at the airport, I see people and I say, that is going officially, and you see some people moving around, doing things.
But doctor, before anybody is recruited, for me the question I've been asking is why? Because this
we can get jobs here.
Exactly. This going to Middle East has been there. I know Philippines was going in droves, Kenya was going in droves. Why are Ugandans going only now? Secondly, before I joined the United Nations and spent there 17 years, I was the most neutral person in the world. But now when I look at life, I look at it really closely. If you get all those girls who are being trafficked, what proportion comes from the north, the east, the west, and central?
You can map out where exactly.
How come some regions, I'll be specific, Mayuga is such a big contributor to these people? Why? It is also leading in child mothers, and it is also leading in rape.
Poverty.
Exactly. Why is it that Busoga is the one leading? Why is it whoever is being trafficked is equivalent to poverty?
Yes, that's true.
So for me, before we talk about who is recruiting and who is doing what, let us empower these girls. Let us make education compulsory now. You know, it is really simple. Government should say, Victoria, you want another child at your age? Fine. Can you afford her? If you can't afford her, who's going to look after this child? I know that all these laws and regulations are made by politicians who are after votes. Are votes more important than our lives?
That's true.
3, currently, we, the coffee people, are being told to look at child labor. What about forced labor? Because these children who are going to wherever they are going are going under forced labor. You are talking about trafficking. So while we are busy minding about child labor, let us talk about forced labor. But most importantly, let us start with the low-lying fruits. Tell every parent, you don't care where they are. This child has got to be in school. If need be, we have always revised our budget. Revise that budget, channel more money into education. Get those teachers back, get those teachers into those classrooms, and make sure that every Ugandan child is educated. For countries which are well-educated, countries like China, it is very difficult to go and find a child whom you can traffic. Because they are all educated, they are all accounted for. You know, however big China may be, wherever they are, once you are born a Chinese, you migrate to Uganda, they keep a tab on you.
Also because they register people.
Exactly.
And here we still have millions
Exactly.
of people unregistered.
Not all the people, children.
Children especially, yes. Thank you very much. You wanted to respond?
No, I wanted to say one time I was listening to, long ago, to Honorable General Otafaya. And so he was asked by somebody, so he said it in Uganda, he said, the one who gave you stupidity,
He did not.
I gave you more. So the one also who gave Honorable Maisenga brightness and wisdom, yes, because the issue, Judith, is can we address the child issues, including their education, including poverty levels, including maybe some bylaws that you have to be at school up to a certain age.
Exactly.
And by doing that, can we skill these children to become job makers? Because once they can create jobs, once they are engaged, they are busy, they cannot be trafficked.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's take a break and then we come back and talk about the issue of mergers of agencies. This is Vivian.
933 KFM.
Okay, welcome back from the break. Welcome back. We're still talking about the agency mergers and agriculture promotion and asking if UCDA should go to the Ministry of Agriculture. And my other guest, Professor Maggie Chigozi, just walked in right now. Professor Chigozi is an entrepreneur. She's a farmer, an investments expert. Professor, should I give you a minute to catch your breath?
Thank you. Good morning, listeners. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much. She had some minor delays on the way. She would have been here a lot earlier.
So she's now having her coffee.
Give her a break somehow.
Yes, I'm going to give her a break to have her coffee, and then we will get to her. So yesterday, of course, the NRM Parliamentary Caucus met, and they met over RAPEX, and the resolution was to support all the bills on rationalization of government agencies and public expenditure. And the resolution provides for a 3-year transitional period for UCDA and the National Information Technology Authority, Uganda. So we are before this resolution, I think during the week the conversation was always, should UCD actually go to MAAIF, should it not, what are the implications in terms of our coffee exports and earnings and so on. I just want to get your quick reactions to that before we actually have more questions. Let me start with you, Dr. Eli, then I come to Honorable, then I come to Professor.
I quickly say 3 things. Rationalization or mergers or bringing together of agencies and mainstreaming them should be really for efficiency and effectiveness for service delivery. And this process started in 2018 and it is still going on. The other part I want to say, my late father used to tell me that when you have a case in court and it is delayed on your side, it gives you a chance to know how to adjure your case because then you rethink about the case. The fact that UCDA has been delayed for 3 years maybe might never be merged. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable.
Yeah, just like his father used to say, the Waganda have a saying, Ogusula gukuwe mpoza. If the case was meant for today, but they delay it until tomorrow, you go back, think, regroup, and maybe consult, come back wiser. But specifically speaking about UCDA, first of all, UCDA was set up during my watch. I was minister then. And I remember it took us like 5 years to just work everything out, go to parliament, set up everything, and I'm happy it has survived until now, because a few things were started and they didn't work. But still, be that as it may, when you give birth to a child, for us women, The moment you are still breastfeeding this kid, you are already seeing her as a bride for somebody else's whatever. Now, MAAIF gave birth to this daughter. That daughter is thriving. Who goes to a marriage and says, now that you have done very well and you have all these children, go back home? What is wrong? That is one. Two, are the issues which made UCDA led to the setting up of UCDA, have they all been resolved? Let me tell you this, I was minister there. That ministry is huge and that ministry is extremely important. In fact, at one time I fell sick, went to Mulago, and I was told I was working too hard because of that ministry. So when the government of Uganda decided to set up UCDA to take care of our major export crop, it was all hands on board. We all came together, set it up, and I'm definitely sure because it was done and done properly. That's why we are where we are. When we are talking about this issue, some people bring in issues of, but UCDA has not paid for my seedlings. That is another case. You don't go to court with more than one case. Right now, we are looking at where should UCDA be. So while the government of Uganda was very keen to merge UCDA back into MAAIF, maybe we should first take a look at MAAIF itself. Does MAAIF has extra time and hands and new know-how in order to manage coffee? Because as we talk now, the market and the environment has changed so much. Nearly everything needs specialization. If MAAIF has got all that energy, can I suggest something? There are so many commodities which everybody is after. Can we put that energy into those other commodities? Right now, maybe we shall get to this later, but I'll say it all the same. Chinatown is in town. What is my take on that? I'm really happy to see Chinatown, and all I'm asking is, when you are bringing these things, you brought them in containers. What did the Ugandans put in these containers to take back? So, like you said, now that we have got the 3 years, now that we have got the Chinese coming here with their containers, I can see Ugandans feeding each and every container with coffee, because the Chinese are over 1 billion. We only need about 100 million to drink all the coffee from Uganda. So, by the 3 years, if things continue going the way they are going, everybody will wonder why we even thought about a merger. We may wish to merge MAAIF into UCDA. Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable. Professor, could I hear from you now?
Yes, I am a coffee grower, and I must say I love UCDA. Simply because it makes my life so much easier.
Exactly.
It gives me all the information I need, even gave me support on machinery. It knows where the markets are. So it is an institution that has put us where we are. Went down to the farmers, stopped them doing that dreadful thing we call kurura, Get all the beans, babies and green ones.
Don't sort, without sorting which ones are mature.
So they managed to work on that, which was very hard.
I know.
They had to actually ban people's coffee, throw it away. Yeah. So they've really brought us to where we are. Nurseries we all have, and technology comes in, the science behind it, because there's a lot of science behind me producing seedlings, which I don't have to do. I just go to UCDA and they will tell me where to go. So really it's an agency for us as coffee farmers that we think, if it's under agriculture, which is just too big.
I know.
Agriculture has to worry about mushrooms and mukene and, all those things fall under agriculture. But let this one have its own powers because it's so big and it's so important to Uganda. The only export that has now superseded this is gold. Gold, simply because it does not help too many people. Gold, it's just the miner, and whereas coffee is every Tom, Dick and Harry who thinks of doing it.
So, Dr. Tuneo, since the merger of Uganda Export Promotions Board to now the Free Zones Authority, I think you're the most experienced in this room in terms of what mergers are like. And could you? I know it's just a few months, but what has it been like for you people?
No, the process is still on. Originally, they had planned to merge UIA, Export Promotion Board, Uganda Tourism Board, and Free Zones. Free Zones is yesterday. Free Zones is a baby. It was 2014.
Yeah.
In fact, one time I was on the internet when I was working with UCID, and I was doing something on Free Zones, and I saw an act. And I said, hey, there is a Free Zones in Uganda. And and we never had Free Zones. We had the Investment Authority, we had Export Promotion and Tourism Board. I talked to a former senior officer of Minister of Finance who told me that in 2002, around there in 2000, that Minister of Finance had got consultants who recommended that actually merge UIA, exports and tourism, and that the report was finished. They even made the structure at finance, and I think they had wanted to merge them under trade even then. And then I was told that then eventually when the head of state appointed a minister again responsible for investments and privatization in the Ministry of Finance. And that's how it died. That was many years ago. So fast forward, in 2018, they brought it back.
Yeah.
They said, let's merge them. This time they said Tourism Board, let it remain, but merge UI, Free Zones and Export Promotion Board. Fast forward, the politics also involved and all other things. It ended up that now these three should be merged, but fall under finance. Then there was a debate. Then they said should be merged, but
that's a lot of confusion.
Constituencies, politics. It went on, and then later on they said now UIA remains in finance. Export Promotion Board, which has always been under Minister of Trade, merges with Free Zones Authority and the Minister of Trade. And then, of course, there was also that debate. Efforts were made by people in free zones and others trying to say that even free zones are not a trade issue, but everywhere Minister of Trade and Industry is responsible for investment and also free zones.
Okay, so Doctor, from what you say, it sounds like you guys are pretty confused even right now. Like, what is going on? What are the structures like? And now, when it comes to also exports, what is this doing for our export sector? Because clearly it seems there's a lot of ambiguity, lack of clarity.
I think it was a lot of learning. There is the technical part, but the political part also has been playing into it. So to me, ultimately now you have a new organization called Uganda Free Zones and Export Promotions Authority and the Ministry of Trade. Let's see how it works, because free zones are actually, as my aunt and sister, Dr. Maginosa and my Senga, the free zones are industrial parks, except they are producing for export. So they are enclaves protected to produce for export, which also is important, because when you have these free zones, then my Maggie will not complain, because these free zones, then if they are given benefits, then they should produce for export, so that they don't compete with my local investors, my Uganda Manufacturers Association, who really have put in their effort. These guys come with money from outside, which are low interest, so they should produce and export and expand export. But the Uganda Export Promotion Board was doing the mandate now of marketing, except tourism. And therefore, if they have given a branch of now industrial zones, let's see how it works. In my view, I think it is okay. Let's see how it works. Because rationalization is a new thing, so also you cannot blame the politicians, neither can you blame the technical people. And also it was being done by the Ministry of Public Service, which has also a lot of work really to do. We will see how it works. Let's see, first give it 5 years and the rest, but I think it will work. You have Rwanda Development Board. Rwanda Development Board combines investment, combines tourism, combines exports. So they are all together, including actually the register of companies. So let it be done. The end of September, these organizations will not be there. So what will be done is what they call validation, because these employees of these organizations they do not lose their job. They were not expelled. The government decided to merge. So merging means you bring the two together. So validation, which should maybe be done by means of Public Service or Public Service Commission, will clean those who are validated, those who qualify, requisite qualifications and competence, put them in the new organization, and then recruit more. And because at times you should reduce also duplication. Some people have arguments, the others are saying that actually free zones shouldn't have existed. They should have become under UIA, and they would be part of industrial parks, which are exclusively for export. Exactly. Yeah, so these arguments have been there. So at times we can argue for UCDA and argue for other organizations, but you could find that some organizations were duplicated. And maybe those were mistakes of politicians or other people. There is a time that we need to reorganize the country.
Exactly. Interesting. So, Honorable and Professor, you farmers, you're entrepreneurs. I would like to know how these mergers or how RAPEX actually affects your areas of operation. If I could start with you, Professor.
Thank you. Luckily, at this time, we have really gone high-tech. So we are digitalization. I actually do not even need to go and see my brother here at all. Online, I can do a lot of what I need. So that will make this rationalization a lot more efficient and a lot, if done properly. That is the thing. Are they aware? Have they benefited from all these innovations that are around? Our lives have been so simplified by digitalization. So we hope the merger as well will take this up. We're not working with Airtel and whoever else provides the service, and also NITA to manage, and looking at the small innovators who have come up with incredible projects that help us. They make our lives so much easier. I think it is now more possible. There's a lot more possible now than what was possible before, when I had to get in my car and go to see him at his office
and find when he's not there.
Well, now I really don't need to. I can get to him. So the rationalization will be easier because of that. But of course, how well it is done will be the question. Matters.
We shall come to how well it should be done, and I would like to also hear your views on that later. But let me come to you, Honorable. How do these mergers affect you as an entrepreneur, as a farmer?
Dr. Twineyo knows when these Zoom meetings are taking place, there and then in the chat we send him questions and we get instant answers. For me, what I look forward to is a situation where I shall be able to do that, but get not only answers about export, and then he tells me my mandate stops here, maybe you talked so and so. So I would love to have a situation where I will chat my question, and he says, yeah, this is that is export promotion, and it is this one doing it, because now I'm talking about filling all those containers from China. Yeah, I would like to get his answers, all the answers from him or from one center. And then if I'm the one going in between Uganda and China, I tell the Chinese those containers shouldn't go empty. Dr. Twineyo says this and this and the other. And because he's authoritative, it is not like rumors. Once he has said it and I've relayed it, nobody will say, oh, and who told her that?
That's true.
So, but that is not number one. Number two, I hope that when they are together, it will make it easier for the districts to do their work. Because what Maggie and I are talking about are people like me and her. But the people, the micro projects and micro programs and entrepreneurs we are promoting are out there in the districts. It is not very clear how to go beyond, because the president is already talking about exports, and some of these village people think it is so complicated. So I'm hoping that this setup will simplify issues, will make it easier for the districts, starting with the district officers, and then the people in the districts to understand how they can also participate in exports. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, Professor, you were saying you had questions about how well things will be handled going forward. What are some of the suggestions that you would actually have? What would you like to see being done better to actually make things easy for farmers and entrepreneurs like you, but also for those who are at that grassroots level, like Honorable was saying?
I think one important one that we'd really like to see is agencies actually being empowered, having the power. There are some agencies like KCCA where there's a political pull, a terrible political pull against the managers, and then you wonder how you ever can possibly get any results. So if the structure should not be like that, should not have the political arm somewhere affecting the work of the technical work. These people are technical. They should be technical. They should not be political ever. But we end up having both. So if that could be really separated,
remove the politics, focus on doing work.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm going to add there is let us go back to meritocracy. Because quite a number of agencies are managed by people you meet and you are like, how do people get jobs these days?
I cannot mention how many times I have talked about meritocracy in the last few weeks. I have no idea whether it's on air or off air. Like but I'm glad actually we are reading from the same script. Dr. Tunia, let me come to you. Still on the issue of encouraging, because like Honorable was saying, when you hear about exports, honestly, you think it's such a huge thing. Even where I sit, like, I keep telling myself, I want to go into farming, but I'm like, oh, now export, how will I? And because you think you need this huge volumes, huge tons. How, when you were at the Export Promotions Board and now at the Free Zones, how were you actually handling these issues or trying to create the knowledge and awareness that, you know, to demystify what the export market is all about?
And that's a good question. And she has said. Those who are in the studio, not in the studio.
As a class of 64. Just say that.
As a class of 64. Those ones.
Both of them.
Yes. Those ones. I've said it all. One of the things that you need to... let me begin from the right and funny one. When I was at the university for my bachelor's, one of my friends, Sengoba, was standing for a job, a position, Minister of Culture in our hall. And that was, he said, I am standing for meritocracy. And dedication. That was his motto. Meritocracy and dedication.
Exactly.
And you see, we are still young and stubborn and what, so it was very good we carried it. So when the Gayaza class of 64 talk, I say, you know, you want to develop these countries, go for merit.
Yeah.
You want to develop these countries and you even reduce corruption, go for merit.
Yeah.
Because people who have merit, people who are qualified, they don't look to grab money and run because they know they have a job. You fire him, he's hired by another one.
They're motivated by something bigger.
Something higher than that job. The other day I was talking to people at public service because of this period of rationalization and job descriptions. And they were telling me that in some countries, they say you need a bachelor's degree, for example. They don't mention what bachelor's degree. So the guy said, when you come, they said that is one step of already interviewing you. When you come, they say, hey, what is your qualification? Then you tell them, I have this and that. They said, why did you come for this interview?
Do you realize you are not qualified for this interview? Why did you come? They don't even mention we need to have that. No. Then they also have competencies, because competencies are more than even the degree. Are you competent?
Yeah.
What is your experience? Countries that have developed, and I've been to Singapore, and I've been to all these countries, I've been to Korea, I have been to China. You are qualified.
Yeah.
Take the politics aside, because once you do that, then the government should come next. As the class of 64 Gayaza said, empower. Empower. Let people know they have the power to do things, because they are the technical people. Consult them. Consultation is part of empowerment. But also give them the funds to do so. Any country that will not export, especially for manufactured products, around 20% of their manufactured products, 20 will come to services. Over like 10 years, they will never get out of poverty. This has been tested. And then you come to services. The class of 64 has also said it. We have digitalized. We have apps. We have this modernity. If we don't export that modernity and we add value, and then me tell you, exporting is simple. Sometimes you just need your phone, but you need advice. You need to consult a technical person. We need a skeleton of technical, bright people who are somewhere. Don't hire people because they are your friends. Don't hire people because they come from your place. Don't hire people because they have no job. You fire people if they are not the relevant ones. They can get jobs elsewhere and get the right people, because where Uganda has reached now, it is a period to get out of poverty. Even what we are saying in the first part, that we empower the children, and the children are skilled, are trained, they create jobs, and we get money. But we need markets, and as Senga will tell you, Honorable Victoria Vicky Victoria, as she will tell you, as Dr. Maggie will tell you, if you don't produce for the market, you produce for your stomach, you never get out of poverty. And the markets are here, but also they are abroad. And abroad we get money for foreign exchange. And when we get foreign exchange, we need foreign exchange reserves to be stable, because then if you don't do that, you'll be beggars. You look for foreign aid, and every day the gap of getting foreign aid is narrowing all the time. But why do you need foreign aid when we have God gave us good land, God gave us good weather, good weather, God gave us important people, water. People don't have access to water. We have water, that fresh water. The water the world will never have. Why do you want to beg for foreign aid? Those people we are begging from, please remember, when they say migration, when they say the movement of people, came from one African mother. They went there, now we are begging them. It is not good.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We're going to take a break, but my producer Stephen just sent me some breaking news, and a sad one. The Minister of State for Defense, Sarah Mateke, has died. We're just going to get more details, because the Honorable Mateke was formerly a Minister of State for Youth. But we've just got that information right now. But I'm sure we're going to get details. That's actually the saddest thing that we've actually got to learn of right now. So let's take a break, and then we'll return to continue with the issue of agency mergers. This is VPN. 933. Welcome back from the break. This is still VPN here on 93.3 KFM. My name is Judith Atim. I'm your host. And once again, my guest, Professor Maggie Chigozie, entrepreneur, farmer, and investment expert. Honorable Victoria Sechitoleko, former Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. She is also an entrepreneur and a farmer. And also Dr. Eli Tune is here with us. He is now from the Free Zones and Export Promotions Authority. Like, I'm still struggling to get
not yet there, but we inshallah, we hope that will be
so
that one.
What are you? Free Zones Authority?
Export Board.
Still Export Board until end of September.
I'm not going to get this thing until.
But above all, I'm a farmer.
Yes, I think let's emphasize
of
that.
cocoa
And coffee.
And trying coffee, but also trees.
Great.
Yes.
Dr. Professor Magichi goes into coffee.
I am a farmer too, yes. Coffee is a main crop on one of my farms. But trees are wherever I have land.
They are trees.
I plant trees. But I'm also in a very interesting new one, palm. Yes, we are growing palm for Bidco to produce.
Yes.
Are you in Kalangala?
Yes.
You had to go there.
I'm also a farmer, only I'm a small scale farmer. And what I promote is you are supposed to eat vegetables every day.
Yes.
These days, we Ugandans have all of a sudden learned how to spray everything.
Yes.
You want to avoid eating the spray? Grow those vegetables yourself. Even if you are disabled, even the blind, I've seen them grow crops. So if you are going to eat it, I suggest you grow it.
That's interesting. And I'm also an aspiring farmer. On a serious note, this is not a joke. I have dreams.
Welcome. I'll give you one piece of advice. Before you do anything else, find out what you want to grow and get into a value chain which is growing it, so that you don't have to learn after making several mistakes.
I have
value chain.
I have you people here, and I'll be knocking on your doors for wise counsel. So someone says, let's be frank, MAAIF has not done well, even with the extension officers on the ground. Uganda's coffee exports have been growing under UCDA.
Exactly.
What does putting it under the direct supervision of MAAIF bring to the table?
Let me say something about that. I think when they started again 2018 to rationalize, I think the spirit was avoid duplication, increase efficiency, service delivery. So I think the people in policy and the cabinet where I am not and where I have not reached, and I hope maybe by chance I might become cabinet technical minister one day, because my ambitions of being a politician are very slim. So the issue they thought was that reduce duplication across board. So then they looked at all the ministries and all the ministries. So I think it was in that spirit, and the spirit was that, agriculture had many agencies. So the argument was that should every crop have an agency. So we didn't look at, as a county, we didn't look at coffee and UCDA and the link to bringing big money. They said Cotton Development Organization, Dairy Development Organization, Coffee Development Organization, and others, and they said, I think with agriculture they were around 11. I'm not sure which would now be brought back. The challenge you are having is that some of these, like especially UCDA, they have become specialists on the production part, specialist on the marketing part, and on the whole promotion, and maybe we could say that since UCDA is bringing the coffee is bringing net of money, and now it is handling cocoa also. UCDA is handling cocoa also. Chichusa, where they do research. Chituza, sorry, in Mukono. They are around, I think, before one junction to Katosi. They do now research on coffee and cocoa. And I should tell people that cocoa is also becoming one of our big exports. How the Mzungu had not told us cocoa could grow here and could be promoted, and they took it to West Africa, would have been making double money. Coffee and cocoa almost to grow in the same areas. So we need to think of the importance of the economy in light of the role of coffee and cotton. And cocoa, because these are going to be powerful crops. Let me mention that Ivory Coast, which is smaller than Uganda, with I think a population of around 27 million or 30. Yeah, around the 1980s, they were big coffee exporters and producers. Somebody told them that focus as well on what? On cocoa. Before COVID, they were exporting one crop alone of cocoa. Over $4 billion
Yeah.
of
Annually.
cocoa. Yeah. And we have bigger land to grow cocoa and grow coffee.
Yeah.
So I think to me what we should be focusing on, Judith, is do we have this information to know what can make us rich? Can we focus on that? And then we look at that.
But also one thing, does this information get down to farmers at the grassroots?
Yes, and I'll tell you how. Everybody's celebrating the hype of coffee, how we have now hit beyond 1 billion. Who did most of the work? Let us be fair. The Katikiro has been saying from village to village. Some people are not ready to admit that, but for me, because what else do? I just watch agriculture. I visit these villages and I see. So, if Ugandans get this information, I'm definitely sure they are going to deliver. But I wanted to comment on what he was saying about cocoa. You see, we are talking about changing the climate, environment and all that. Then too, the whole world is very concerned about forests. I'm glad all of us here are into growing trees.
Yes.
One beautiful item coming out of developing cocoa is that cocoa does not grow where there's no forest.
Yes.
So the thing to do would be to tell everybody who still have a small forest that you can still make a lot of money, keep your forest and make a lot of money out of it. And the question will be how? Say you grow cocoa. But like he was saying, Dr. Twine was saying, we need this information so that when and if I'm planting cocoa, I know which trees I should have. I know that the distances, and I'm definitely sure about the market. But I know I'm not a witch, even if most singers. but no. Ivory Coast is having issues with its cocoa. There was a fungal attack on the crop. So the market for cocoa is going to skyrocket. If it has not already skyrocketed. Now, but going back a little bit to the coffee, UCDA was supposed to be going back to MAAIF because we wanted to cut salaries. Really? From the prices we are getting now and from the talks we have been having as the coffee sector, the coffee sector is ready to increase a bit of sales and sustain UCDA, so that UCDA stops suckling from the government. Because if really our only concern is the salaries, that one can be and should be addressed. That is one. Two, I would love to really support that, because the question which somebody asked, how many should every crop have its own agency? From me, the answer is yes. Because as I keep telling everybody, if Uganda is an agriculture country, if we are going to succeed in agriculture like other countries have done, Denmark, Netherlands, the United States, China, Canada, every commodity has a value chain. In China, even if you are growing gooseberries and tuntunu, you would have somebody doing the research who is known, somebody doing the seedlings who is known, somebody producing the tuntunu, and a middle person who picks up, packs, and takes to the supermarket. So, at the end of maybe 20 years from now, I would love to see a Uganda where every commodity, whether it is mukene, whether to see who is doing the research, who is assuring us, who is doing the quality assurance, who is monitoring the export, how much do we need in order to export, which country is taking what, so that like Dr. Maggie said, I can go into my computer and say, I have always loved the gooseberries or blackberries, so but who is importing them? Then I go join that value chain and maybe produce, or just go and buy from the producers and export. So I would like to suggest that we use UCDA as the leader, as the others follow. One last thing, in Uganda, earlier we were talking about meritocracy. In Uganda, one thing we don't have are experts in managing agencies or cooperatives or associations. this is the right time for Uganda to start deliberately preparing managers. Thank you.
So,
We clap for you.
I don't know if Professor, you wanted to add something to that before I ask the next
Yes,
question.
we had talked about the capacity of the ministry.
Yes.
I want to talk about the extensions workers. They have the capacity. They know. They have the information.
Exactly.
The only thing they do not have is transport. So basically, it's facilitation.
Yeah.
Facilitation, at least a motorcycle. But when I have a problem on the farm, I go to Wakiso district and they will give me the extension person for whatever crop. Be it for forestry, I will get somebody. They had cut down my forest. I went there. They gave me someone. We called the whole village. We discussed forestry and how important it was to the Kabaka. Even this thing goes way back.
How big was the forest? And like they had raised down the whole.
The one they had cut down. It was about maybe like 20 acres.
And I have got a forest near hers. So if they cut hers and nothing happens, mine would be next.
Yes, so now our village, he can tell you. Trees everywhere. But we got support from these people who are very experienced, but I had to go and pick them up.
Yes.
And it's something as small as that. Yes. That means that the regular farmer, the smallholder, cannot access all that knowledge that's actually sitting at their disposal.
So we are talking about how coffee has actually been thriving, the entire sector under UCDA, and now the proposal to move it to MAAIF and so on. I want us to look at how other export crops, for example, cash crops, have been performing under MAAIF. Let's take a case of tea, for example.
And cotton.
And cotton, yes. You are the farmers, you're the experts, you understand these things better. What is your impression, or the expert knowledge? You've worked closely with MAAIF and also promoted exports for so many of these commodities. If you look at how coffee has been doing and you compare these other crops which are under MAAIF, what kind of comparison would you give us?
I wanted to say maybe in 2 minutes coffee before I leave
No
that.
problem.
Coffee is important, and the class of 64 guys have already said it. It diversifying the economy, diversifying incomes. Like we said, gold will benefit very few, but most rural people who are involved in coffee all access some money because of coffee. And you don't need to have big land, big acreage. You just need to be taught how to do agro-husbandry very well, and you make money. In fact, most people who went to school, it is recently that at least people are going to school because of cows. It was mainly coffee in the whole of Uganda. The North was not doing a lot of coffee, but can I tell you now? A lot of coffee now in the North, and the soils are very good.
Promoted by UCD.
Promoted by UCD, of course. So we need to have to encourage coffee as a poverty reduction crop.
Household
poverty reduction crop. We don't eat it, but we get money for it, and the market for coffee will never go away anyway. Because as people get out of poverty, as more than 600 million Chinese get out of poverty, they begin to like coffee because coffee is a product of distinction.
Exactly.
They live tea.
It's like wine.
Yes.
You elevate. You can't be doing sachet and then also
Senga tells me.
Tell the Ugandans, please continue. The Ugandans don't drink coffee.
But this is coffee I'm drinking.
No, that's true. We need to change that culture. And Senga told me that at least every day I should take 2 cups, but I think the second one is it before 8 or something before I go to sleep.
Yes.
And he said it is even good for many health issues, including cancer.
Yes, I've heard
so
that.
if Ugandans could know that coffee has something to do with our lives, with our health, with our even resting very well, and including cancer, they would know. Now let me talk about other crops. Like we have said, I think the most important thing in government is empower. Dr. Mag said, empower employees of government, especially like Minister of Agriculture. I know we are a developing country and we don't have money, but we need to budget especially to empower extension workers. Empowerment means that if we value that this agriculture will bring us a lot of money in the economy, and we go to 500 billion economy in 10 years as the president has guided the Minister of Finance, extension workers are important. They need to be empowered. How do you empower them? Give them the means to reach the farmers and advise them. Let them not be at the district. Give them the means to move around. When they are moving around, they could see some bad weed, and comment about it, or some virus, and they comment about it. Let them move around and do that. Let me tell you, the disease that that virus that is finishing the disease in West Africa.
Yes.
But even partly is in our Ugandan cocoa. But no one is there to advise because they don't know. It is not on a bigger scale, but what if it expands? Then it is starting. So we need the extension workers to be empowered. Empowered means give them the ability to move and do their work in there. I know we are a developing country. I know the budget is very small, but if we think agriculture is related to our poverty reduction and growing the economy, we will have to do that. Because, and I say that in light of all the crops, because our crops now, it is no longer to say tea or cotton or coffee are cash crops. All our products are now cash crops.
Exactly.
Her vegetables are cash crops.
Yeah.
So this empower Israel exports a lot of season fruits and vegetables, and Egypt they are deserts.
Yes.
They are
Using
deserts.
the Nile water.
And now for Egypt they use Nile waters. I was in Dubai looking for market for fish and other places. In Dubai, Nile perch is number 2 after salmon.
Yeah.
In terms of price, it is valued. So we are trying to say, how about other types of fish? Then I found small tilapia. And I said, this is not from Uganda, of course. Then somebody went and checked, of course, said, it is from Egypt. I said, but that is our water.
Yes.
Can I stop our water going all the way? And Egypt has used our Nile more profitably than us, where it originates. Yeah, I think that's what I can say.
Okay. Have we heard from you, Professor?
No,
she's
not Yes, we have lost a lot of the crops where we were really strong. We have excellent cotton, for example. Long tepo. I think it's on next to Egypt.
Yes,
cotton,
that's true.
Yeah.
which is also utilizing our water. But yes, so it is unfortunate that there is an agency. There is a CDO. So that one has its own agency, which should have been able to maintain the at least where we were in the past. But it's good that we have some value addition now in the sector. We may produce shirts and t-shirts and things like that. But so that's cotton, at least it has an agency. Now looking to taking it back also to the ministry. Would it do better in the ministry? I think that is a question that would... I don't know. That one, I don't know the answer to that. But then the others, who else has an agency? Nobody really, I think.
No, we have the Direct Development Authority,
which has also done excellent. When you remember how much milk we used to produce and what we produce today.
And how we used to drink powdered milk.
Yes. And the quality of the milk on the market, really.
Yes.
And the fact that we now have excellent powdered milk locally, made locally. That's a sector that has really boomed. Whether it's because our president also is in the sector, he has cattle, that always helps, I suppose. But that's a sector that has done extremely well. Do you want it back in the ministry? That would be a similar question to UCDA. Do we want it back in the ministry? Would that possibly kill the the impetus that we already have. Yes, we need to reduce labor.
Yes.
That I can understand. Where too many workers, the salaries are too high for government. But were there other workers? Are there too many politicians? I mean, that question has got to be put on the table. Do we need the politicians in each and every district, quite a large number of them, more than we need UCDA or
other experts in the different sectors?
Different sectors, yes. So that's a question.
But still, T, why I'm asking about T, I think months ago
let me tell you about T. First of all, really, T has never been under MAAIF. There was the Tea Authority some time back. Then we had the Uganda Tea Growers Cooperative Union, where all the tea factories belong. So when the privatization rage was going on, those two were privatized. The first thing that happened is the Uganda Tea Authority, whose job was to work with the exporters and make sure that our teas are done properly, exported and reported on and whatever, was the first one to be closed. Now, Uganda Tea Growers Cooperative Union became a private thing managed by the people who were producing tea. Unfortunately, that disease of Uganda not having people who know how to manage organizations infiltrated the tea industry, so much so that this industry, which was booming like 25 years down the line after being privatized, is on its deathbed. So should it go back to MAAIF? Did it die because it left MAAIF? I doubt MAAIF is prepared to handle tea. Now, the story of cotton is different. Cotton was, when Cotton Development Authority was set up, it was taken away from MAAIF. I don't even know who has been in charge. So it is not like going back, it is like taking it there. Because cotton used to be there, but once the authority was set up, some people were appointed to manage or mismanage or whatever, and that is where we are. But let me talk about the good ones. We have talked about how much coffee is bringing into Uganda. What comes after coffee? It's fish and horticulture. Now, for the fish, we now have people farming fish in the lakes, and you hear all sorts of stories. The lake has been sold, and then that this, and then the other one. But I want to thank everybody who is in the fish sector for keeping that sector flying. I know you have your challenges, and we shall keep talking about them, like how do you tax farmed fish versus wild fish? Because I don't know if you have ever gone fishing. If you know how to fish, you get into the boat, especially if it is the right time. Very soon, I don't know, when it looks like it is about to rain, the fish are easy to catch. Within 2 minutes, you have caught your lunch. But when you and I go to the market after I have farmed my fish, we are taxed the same. So most of this happens because the taxman has never farmed fish, he just is seeing you and I in the market and wants money. So I think right now the rush should not be on who to merge or who to do whatever. We should, anybody in leadership should be trying to understand every industry. Like I was saying, whether I'm in gooseberries, whether I'm in mukene, whether I'm in Nile Patch, I want to be understood. What do I put in? And when and if I succeed, how much do I bring in? Then somebody sits down and says, given what you are putting in, you are actually subsidizing government. So we are not going to tax you, continue exporting whatever you are exporting, since you are bringing foreign exchange. But really in agriculture, most people do it through passion, and they actually put in their money, and they subsidize everybody else. Thank you.
Well, so thank you very much. Well, if you're just tuning into the show, we regret to announce the sudden death of the Minister of State for Defense and Veteran Affairs, Honorable Sarah Mateke. She died from Mengo Hospital. This has just been confirmed to KFM by the Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs, Honorable Jackson Oboth. Sarah Mateke has also been the woman MP for Kisoro District. She's a daughter of former Minister of State for Regional Affairs, Honorable Philemon Mateke. In 2021, Sarah Mateke was appointed by the President as the Minister of State for Youth and Children Affairs in the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Government will officially announce a funeral program. We do send our sincere sympathies to the family, members of Cabinet, the Defence Ministry staff, and the people of Kisoro. I have also seen a tweet from the Minister of ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Bariomunsi, also announcing that and commiserating with the family. It's very, very unfortunate. So I want us to talk briefly about these regulations by the EU. You've heard of the EU regulations about coffee, cocoa, and which other crop. So how, issues of human rights, labor rights. Doctor, you want to say something? Okay, sure. Yeah. You should not cultivate you should protect the environment while you get into your farming and so on. What are your responses? I mean, how does this impact our farmers? I was reading an opinion by someone on social media yesterday and saying, look, you cannot open large chunks, you cannot go into commercial farming without clearing land, and that means you're going to have to cut trees definitely. I don't know if you share similar sentiments, but how can we still make money but at the same time protect the environment and honor these regulations, because these are our biggest markets?
I think they're focused very heavily on forestry.
Yes.
Forestry more than anything else. And also from 2020. Yeah. So they're not looking too far back, because a lot of...
like if your grandmother...
cut down a forest and you would have a problem. But no, that's not the case. So they're looking at the status quo almost just 4 years ago. Yes, and trying not to change that, rather to improve it. So it should really not affect us that much. Do not think you can go to Mabira, cut it down and grow coffee. That's what the message is saying. Especially natural forests. I planted my pine. I don't think they will criminalize me on harvesting commercial tree plantations. But the natural forest should stay as it is. And yes, you want to clear it. And coffee is a very good crop in that it grows with trees. You need shade. So you grow your coffee, but you also grow these beautiful trees around it to give it shade, but also the seeds fertilize the soil, some of them. So it works. You still have coffee and you still have your trees, and I think we had that about cocoa too. Cocoa too.
I don't see in the middle.
So it is necessary that UCDA does go ahead to ensure we are not cutting any more forests. And this is technical because they have maps. We've been told that the EU has provided the maps of where we are, the status quo now. So it is to note that, or they can go on the map and see, oh my God, Victoria has cut down all her trees.
I was actually about to ask, how does this work?
They'll be able to see and run to my farm if they think I've suddenly cut down my forest. And I'm cutting it down for coffee, I guess. They are not concerned if I'm cutting it down for matoke or whatever. Which they should be. They should be. I hope the others will
they should be. Exactly.
They should
Even
be.
cocoa, they're already touching it.
Cocoa is one of those crops as well that
we shall get there, because like I said, the second export to the EU is the horticulture. Once again, if you are going to cut down the forest and plant this horticulture, it will be affected. But for me, my area of interest is slightly different. Most of the coffee which is being exported now, honestly, was rehabilitation of old farms. What most people have done is they have gone, cut their grandma, like I did at my father's place. We have cut all those trees.
The coffee trees.
The coffee trees, put fertilizer. Now my nephew is irrigating, and we have a fantastic garden.
So did you put new seedlings?
No.
Or you just...
For my father's garden, we did not put new seedlings because he left trees which nobody is allowed to cut. So
some trees
so when
are spiritual.
Exactly. In Msoga we have spiritual trees. In fact, I wish we could go back to that system where we had spiritual trees. And when I was young, honestly, even looking at it, I was afraid. But I want to talk about the registration and the global. Okay. there is a map of Uganda which indicates forests, light grass, and so on and so forth. So that is where we are. And the drones and all that are coming in to see where the greenness has gone down, the thickness of the forest, and so on and so forth. But in order to do that and be able to hold us accountable, everybody has to be registered. So yesterday, if you saw that pronouncement where the government said it is going to register all the land,
yes,
they don't have a choice. Because we have got to give you some kind of address. Even if we have told you not to cut down trees, if you cut down the muvule tree, which is the boundary between me and you, when the drones come to look at your coffee, they will not be, they will not have any legal guidance to say this is my patch and that is your patch. I cut down my trees because I don't care what the Europeans say, but for you, you are doing this business. So the government has that role to map all the land so that we can say this latitude and this longitude belongs to so and so, and she is growing coffee and it is good. Then two, child labor and forced labor. I think it is very important that the next meeting about coffee should actually be to talk about child labor. How does one define child labor? Because I've got a grandchild. She's about 9. But that girl can do practically everything in the home. And she keeps saying, Jaja, for me, I can't just sit here. I cannot sit doing nothing. Is that child labor? I've got help in the house, but this girl does not allow them to wash her clothes, does not allow them to clean her room, cannot really see the assistant peeling, and she doesn't go to peel. So when you look at the Bazungu children, they start playing. If Dr. Eva's grandchild was playing a guitar at the age of about 1. So if she grows and becomes a guitarist, shall we prosecute them for child labor? Because that is how she'll be making money. So I think it is high time Uganda sat down with everybody and we define this child labor thing. Finally, registration. Currently, some Ugandans who are growing coffee are very worried about being registered. Let me tell you this, and I say it authoritatively. Coffee, because you are the largest, you are just the first one in line. But everybody else is going to be registered because of traceability. Whether you are selling in Tula, you are selling sweet potatoes, you are selling, for as long as Mr. Twineo is exporting these goods, and he exports everything, including Mr. Ferry and all that, sour soap. You have to be registered so that if there is something wrong with it, we know where it came from. Or if there is something right with it, we know where to go for more. So don't read anything into coffee farmers being registered, and don't let anybody tell you that you'll be arrested because you have not registered yourself. It helps you to get registered because that way we can trace your coffee to you. And especially if you are producing good coffee, why don't you want to be known? So let nobody misinform you. This registration is for your own good. That is where the world is going, and you cannot allow the world to leave you behind.
Okay. So actually, there is also this question coming in. So Dr. Victoria hinted on the issue of cooperative unions.
Yeah.
In eastern Uganda, coffee farmers are running strong because of their few existing unions.
Yeah.
But when you look at what happened in central and western Uganda, political responsibility aside, these unions collapsed. How has the collapse of unions impacted cash crop farmers in the coffee, tea, cotton sectors, and also sugarcane, for example?
You want me to talk about that?
Yes. That question is actually direct.
Okay. First of all, when somebody says in eastern Uganda, coffee is doing well because of cooperatives, let us be specific. Like I told you, these days I look good. In Bugisu and Sebei area, coffee is doing well because of Sebei Cooperative Union and Bugisu Cooperative Union. That is a fact. In Busoga Growers Cooperative Union died. These people went into sugarcane. Sugarcane people are not under any cooperative. You wake up today and decide to grow sugarcane. It is your decision. Then your sugarcane is ready to sell. You go to Kakira and Kakira says, "Did we know you?" Then you have to sell through me, and I take most of the money, and so on and so forth. So, going back to having managers who can manage agencies and organizations and whatever. I think what we need now, in fact, let me talk about cooperatives first. We have got the Cooperative Act, which is current, which was actually revised. Under the Cooperative Act, there are certain things which should be done and which should never be done. Chief among which, if you are not a member of a cooperative society, you have no business whatsoever putting money in that cooperative society. So when you hear a member of parliament who is the legislator telling you how he put money in such and such a cooperative society, that is actually breaking the law, and he should be arrested on his own confession. Because it is illegal. You cannot, as a non-member, take out money, neither can you put in money. So I think the first thing we should do is educate. For most of us, we learned about cooperatives by association. They were there, we talked to our parents and all that. But now that they are dead and we want to resurrect them, let us teach them. Let us teach students in schools, this is how a cooperative union works, and make sure that even politicians are held to account. Because if I'm the teacher, I've taught the students today that in a cooperative union, you can only work there if you are a member, you can only get money out if you are a member, you can only put in money if you are a member. Then an MP comes and my son is looking and he's putting in money. Like, as an MP, you cannot belong to 1,000 cooperative unions, because what they do now that we are going for elections, they go here splash money, they go there splash money, completely unbalancing everything, especially the power, because cooperative societies belong to the members. So for you are our MP. That's a completely different realm of business. So did the collapse of cooperatives affect the
coffee sector and okay, all the cash exports?
Very much so, because it was through those cooperative societies and unions that the traceability of the day used to happen. Because at that time, as for most of my age mates and those who are 40 and all that, as you may remember, you take your coffee to the cooperative union and they know that you are sectorical, you are from Chabadaza, we know where your garden is. During those days, there's no way you could show up even with one bag of coffee when we don't know you, because the store would ask, where did you get this coffee from? We don't even know you. You are not our member. So that was the traceability. So now that the traceability died, we are now reestablishing this traceability, which most probably will also help with the thieves. Because if and when every piece of land is registered, everybody is registered, we know how much coffee you have. Now, how do I arrive? I'm landless and I'm selling 20 bags of coffee. So, farmers and Ugandans, please cooperate with the registrars, because it is to your own benefit.
Okay. So let's go back. It's time for a break. I wanted to ask a question, but before we go into the break, I would actually like you guys to talk about I want us to go back 2 years ago, 2022, when Uganda withdrew from the International Coffee Organization Agreement, and where we stand at the moment in terms of our exports and what this withdrawal actually has meant for our coffee sector. Welcome back from the break. This is still VPN here on 933 KFM. My name is Judith Atim. I'm your host. We are still talking about the agency mergers and how this actually affects UCDA especially. We're asking, should UCDA go to the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries? We have a caller. Yes, hello.
Asim.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. I'm calling you from.
Hello, we're losing you.
Are you not getting me?
Now I can get you.
Thank you.
Yes.
For me, I would like government to add on sensitization at a high gear. When farmers are well informed, via marketing and maybe even weather forecast team have to come on board to engage farmers if they know the meteorology. Sometimes they are being left out, and the government have to facilitate meteorology. And they work hand in hand with the extension farmers, then they reach to the stakeholders as far as farming is concerned. Now with that, we will grow. But government have to release money. Where there is a problem, when we need money, not only for insecticides, let them give it as early as possible, as farmers are preparing their garden since the season beginning. It will make sense for me.
Thank you.
And the corruption side, you have to be dealt with accordingly. Whoever report establishing things which are not in line with the government style have to be accountable for that. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Juma. Hello? Okay. I think we can proceed. So Juma is talking about the sensitization, basically re-echoing what you've all been talking about. It's important to inform our farmers, give them the right knowledge, and give them the support. So I had asked you earlier to actually talk about how our coffee sector is performing since we pulled out of the International Coffee Organization in 2022. At that time, Uganda was citing unfair tariffs and other barriers that were restricting export of processed coffee to Europe and other markets.
Let me say something about this. How I want all these wars to end in Africa. Do you know that Sudan Khartoum has been buying Ugandan coffee up to 15%?
Yeah.
And they were going to continue to 20%.
Yeah.
Until the war happened.
Yes, Sudan Khartoum.
Wow.
So then we can export the rest to even members of that NGO. In Asia. We take it to China, like Sengavik said. If China is becoming rich and they can buy our coffee, it will be finished. We need to produce double the effort. So association of that international organization or NGO or non-NGO, Uganda has not lost market for coffee. Actually, our market is increasing because our coffee is good quality. What we should focus on is the quality, but not international associations.
ICO was actually a private NGO which was British, and it was started in 1963, soon after our independence. I doubt that the minister then, because having been a minister, honestly, it takes time to learn to be a minister.
That's true.
So I'm sure he went, and this very nice British, our minister just signed here and then signed there. So before you know it, we are hooked. And when they called it International Coffee Organization,
That's not fair. He has a PS who's a technical person. He has an expert in that particular sector.
you were not there when Matian Singobi was the Minister of Agriculture. Because I know he's the one who signed.
So that was shortly after independence. That was 1963.
So they knew before 62 they were more or less controlling our exports. So they had to come up with a way of ensuring that they continue being in charge of our coffee. So they set up this ICO, which had nothing whatsoever international about it. So much so that when we left, you can see how we are thriving. The question somebody was asking me, why didn't we leave earlier? And I said, better late than never.
So we're actually doing a lot better than we were when we were there.
Exactly. Because like last week, we signed 3 agreements with China. And why only 3? Because there were only 3 sellers with China. We did not need to talk to ICO and ask them if we can sell to China.
Okay.
In fact, now that I'm talking about China, let me say this. China has said, because as we talk now, FOCAC, the forum for China and Africa is ongoing. The Chinese president has said that whatever you want to sell, we shall buy it. And for Uganda coffee, they have asked, how much do you have to sell? It is not like give us 2 tons or whatever. How much do we have to sell? And they are ready to buy it. We don't need ICO to say, okay, you can sell to China and maybe a little to Russia or another to the United States. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to add something.
Yes.
You see, the challenge we have in the world, and the non-coffee producers benefit more from our coffee.
And they want to set the regulations.
I think for us focus on quality, producing quality coffee. And once you have, you see, buyers vote with their wallets. Once you have the right product, and they know anti-mag producers, they will come for it. So don't focus on what the association or what, because if you have a good product, buyers we will take it. So let's focus on producing, keeping the quality.
Can I talk about that good product?
Yes.
Currently, one of the highest coffee earning type is what we call specialty coffee. But what is specialty coffee?
Tell me what it is. That's what I've heard that.
Specialty coffee is coffee. For example, since we have got Zuri Farm here, Zuri Farm grows coffee. Let's say they have got 30 acres and they planted the same type of coffee.
Whether it's Arabica or
yes, but it is the same type of coffee. It is managed well by the whatever they're spraying, whatever they're weeding, and when they pick, when they process, when they pack. Just don't mess it with other neighbors or whatever, because the roasters, when you go abroad, those of you who have been there, you see how small those coffee houses are. What they do, some of them, every morning, like in Seattle, this is what happens. Every morning, the coffee roaster goes to the store, picks up one bag of Uganda coffee, takes it, roasts it, sells it that day to his drinkers, and they go back for another one. Now, if you have visited my coffee house and you have loved my coffee, and you go to bring your sister, I want you to get here and find exactly what you promised your sister. So, specialty coffee, that is what it means.
Consistency.
Exactly. But not in generality.
Okay.
I think maybe mine would be to add the role of the private sector in this. It's huge. They do everything. They are, UCDA gives you the research, gives you the knowledge, advises you, and then you take it on and you drive it. And that's what's happened. We have a huge number of huge commercial coffee farmers, and they are doing very well. Yes.
Okay. So someone is, my producer actually who sent this, he would like you to talk about the challenges within the East African community over trade barriers, because before we look at the European markets, we are having challenges in terms of improving relationships within the region and to also expand our markets within the region. So could you just talk about...
I want to say something about that. You know, we have the East African community, we have COMESA, we have African Continental Free Trade Area. At the end of the day, we should have Africa as one market. It is important, and if you look at Africa as one market, I'll come to EAC finally. Then you find that you are selling coffee, for example, to Ghana, to Nigeria, to South Sudan, to Sudan, Khartoum, to Egypt, to Morocco. Our coffee will be finished within Africa. So we don't.
Isn't that a good thing?
A very good thing. Now the challenge. We have failed to live together as brothers and sisters. I was reading somewhere, they said, if you have a bad neighbor, and in our cultures we know, if you have a bad neighbor, they will spoil your children. If you have bad neighbors, if you are the bad neighbor, you also spoil their children. So our desire as people, we should always have neighbors whom we live cooperatively. A good neighbor is very important. When you talk of the EAC, the challenge we have had, we have failed to be good neighbors. We have failed to be good brothers and sisters. The wars in South Sudan and conflicts in South Sudan are not ending. The conflicts in DR Congo, which started long ago by when they killed Patrice Lumumba and grabbed his golden teeth, which was just returned recently. And the man was happy to be displaying it in Belgium. Very sad story has failed to end because even ourselves Africans, we have failed to realize that the colonialists left us in some quagmire, I don't know the right word, because Judith, our major trade barrier is politics. General trade barrier, non-tax barrier is politics. Sometimes we cross the borders for political reasons. Sometimes we blame each other who is funding which rebel group. Some people are harboring rebels of another country because they want to overthrow the other government. I don't know what we can do to become the United States of East Africa before you become the United States of Africa, so that we have one president and others are federal states. I think maybe that could be a big solution if we could agree to that. And Judith, if you made me the president of East African Federation in future, as we say in Arabic, inshallah, I would begin by being the best dictator for 10 years or 15, and then
I don't like dictatorship.
For me,
I am for liberal democracy.
Do you know what I want to do with that dictatorship? Benevolent leadership. And build roads, build railways.
Chances of abuse are very high.
These people have been spoiled by democracy.
I don't believe it. But just, we know Parliament is on recess right now.
Yes.
And they're back on the 17th. And we expect, of course, issues of production, markets and markets to actually take center stage when they gather together for plenary. What would be your messages to the House when they resume business?
Yes, we have very clear East African community what we'd like to see. I think, like you said, maybe we start with EAC. But of course, Africa Free Trade Area is also moving along. It's very clear what we need to do. Just open those borders. Let your goods go across. Let there be clear. Non-tariff barriers should not exist. Tribalism, regionalism, I don't know. There's so many issues that we take into consideration, but we shouldn't. Let's just simply do business. We've heard of milk problems when we try to export our milk.
Eggs,
wheat, you remember? No, maize. Maize, huge problem. They need our maize desperately, and they block it off. Because there's been a good season for once in Kenya. Imagine, next year then you want to open again. But last year when my farmer found out he had no market, this year he has actually not grown. He's grown something else. So how do we really consistently do what the EAC was put in place to do, to harmonize everything? And then we have a market of how many now? The millions are growing. The population that we used to talk about at the UIA in our time is no longer what is there now. It's much bigger. Yes. So that's what we would like to see.
My take on that is, when we are counseling people, we tell them to manage what they can manage, and most importantly, manage yourself. If, Mr. Twineo, you want to export right now to the regions, I would like to advise the whole of Uganda to start promoting every border district. Let us set up a huge supermarket at the border with Kenya. We take all our sugar, our groundnuts, our maize, our pumpkin, everything that is imported by Kenya. We put it. We give you everybody a shop. That is what. Then we do the same with Tanzania. We do the same with Rwanda. Rwanda should have the biggest supermarket on our side. We set up everything, quality, pack it and price it and so on and so forth. Those people, that would be the busiest road. Most of those buses which collide with along Masaka Road, what are they doing? What are all those people coming to do? They are coming to shop. Let us make it easy for them. Put everything at the border. Where did I get this wisdom from? You remember sometime back China was banned from trading with this one and the other one and whatever. What China did is they put the hugest supermarkets at every border with Mongolia, border with Korea, border with even Japan, which sometimes pretends that they are not friends. They had a supermarket targeting them. So Uganda, we are a beautiful girl. Let us package. We have a beautiful girl. Let us package her so well so that people come and beg to talk to us. How much sugar do you want? So let us stop begging anybody to buy our things.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from you, Doctor.
I am so very happy that Sengavik has taken my thing. Because I spent 10 years part-time, full-time teaching at the business school and UMI. And I used to give them the example of Mexico and USA.
Exactly.
Because Americans didn't want foreign migrants and what. They went on the borders and put their opened markets inside, and these people would come and buy and go back. And it was also migration control. Now, the government for the last, I think maybe more than 15 years, has been trying to establish export border markets.
Yes.
On the borders, they have tried one in Kasese, towards Mpondwe. They were supposed to do one at Regu Bibia. We have taken forever. We need border export markets. In fact, when I was talking with the Ugandan ambassador in South Sudan, I said, you guys who are in the market should encourage government to open the border export market to South Sudan.
We've done that. As Trademark Africa.
They did only the logistics stuff.
I want Professor to just wind up and then we close this.
This time is a dictator.
It is.
This dictator, you're too tough for us. Just to say thank you for giving us this opportunity to share with Ugandans. We have expertise on this table, and this is an opportunity to actually be able to share it so that people are not quarreling about things, just simple things like registering farmers, which is a good thing. And they're really very mad about it. So we appreciate, and yes, I hope you are listening, Ugandans.
You Ugandans, please make sure the containers from China don't go back empty.
Thank you very much. This is VPN. My name is Judith Atim. Special thanks to my guest, Professor Maggie Chigozi, Honorable Victoria Sekitoleka, and Dr. Eli Twineo. VPN returns next Saturday, same time. It is now time for news. Catherine again is watching me with a side eye because I've eaten so much into her time. Thank you guys, and special thanks to my producer, Stephen Bide. Bye-bye.